My name is Nicole Carnival, and I am with Medical Physiology at the University of New England, online class 1010. In this lecture, I'm going to discuss the hormonal control of implantation and early embryonic development. So it's important to note that the hormonal interactions between the hypothalamus, the anterior pituitary, as well as the ovaries regulate and drive the female reproductive system. The main hormones to keep in mind throughout the lecture are the gonadotropin releasing hormone, which is secreted from the hypothalamus, which can stimulate the production of the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone as released from the anterior pituitary. Also, estrogen and progesterone that are released from the ovaries are other crucial hormones in the regulation of the female reproductive system. So to start, menstrual cycle is what drives the female reproductive system. It's generally a 28-day phase, and that goes through different phases throughout the cycle to regulate whether pregnancy is going to occur or not. So the first phase is the follicular phase, which is because of there's follicular growth in the ovary. This can last anywhere between 10 to 21 days. And bleeding can occur from the uterus in a process called menses. And after the menses, it could be followed by a proliferative phase where an endometrium adds a new layer of cells in anticipation of pregnancy. The next phase, which you can see down here in the blue, which occurs around day 12 to day 17 of the menstrual cycle, is ovulation. And this is where one or more of the follicles has fully developed and the ovary releases this oocyte during this phase. So typically, again, it's on between day 12 and 17 and leads into the luteal phase, which you can see here in orange. The luteal phase is known as being post-ovulatory, and it is one of the most significant phases for pregnancy because this is what leads up to implantation. So in the luteal phase, this is the transformation of the ruptured follicle into something called a corpus luteum. It is named for its yellow pigment and lipid deposits, and this corpus luteum carries through the beginning of pregnancy to help regulate the hormonal control. So it secretes the hormones and will continue to prep the body for pregnancy. So what we're going to focus on is if there is a pregnancy. So if there is a pregnancy and the follicle has been fertilized, progesterone is the dominant hormone in this phase. As we can see over here in this picture, where the light purple or pink is elevated during the luteal phase. So it is one of the most dominant hormones throughout this phase. Estrogen synthesis diminishes, however, it does increase. So you see the estrogen have a slight increase and then a decrease and then a slight increase again and a decrease and comes back up. So that's the estrogen. So the communication of progesterone and estrogen exert a negative feedback on hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary. The gonadotropin is suppressed by this negative feedback and also by something called inhibin. The continued levels of progesterone in this phase prep the endometrium for pregnancy. So from conception to implantation, this happens after ejaculation, and the sperm can pass through the cervix of a woman into the lumen of the uterus and float the fallopian tubes. If the sperm and egg meet in the tube and the fertilization occurs, as we had talked earlier, the fertilization for the fertilization to occur, the sperm must penetrate both the outer layer of the egg and the protective glycoprotein coat called the zona pellucida. Once a sperm is successful at penetrating the both layers, this connection triggers a chemical signal that causes all the other sperms to be excluded from being able to penetrate, and this is called polyspermy. Fertilization is complete. It takes about 4 to 5 days for it to travel through the fallopian tubes, the uterus, and this is due to the influence of progesterone. It triggers the smooth muscle of the tube to relax, which causes it to take a slightly longer time to flow through the tube. When the egg reaches the uterine cavity, it's now at about 100 cells, called a blastocyst. So implantation, and this is an attachment and invasion of the uterus endometrium by the blastocyst. So the blastocyst is what's doing the implantation. This occurs about 7 days after fertilization, and the blastocyst secretes enzymes to allow it to invade the endometrium and further divide to become an embryo. So going on to early embryonic development and hormones. So when the blastocyst is implanted in the uterine wall, the placenta begins to form and the corpus luteum is near the end of its 12-day lifespan. The embryo sends hormonal signals to keep the corpus luteum active during early pregnancy, and this is mostly to make sure that the placenta can develop fully, so that can take over the hormonal releasing. So the human chorionic gonadotropin hormone causes the corpus luteum to continue producing the progesterone. By the 7th week, though, the placenta is now going to be releasing the progesterone, and the corpus luteum is no longer needed. So the placenta is going to produce the human chorionic somatomammatropin, which is structurally similar to the growth hormone and prolactin. The placenta will also secrete estrogen and progesterone, and high levels of these hormones continue to suppress the feedback of the pituitary, which prevents more follicles from beginning any further development, and that's why we don't have our periods during or the menstrual cycle during pregnancy, because it is inhibited. So thank you for watching.